We are back on Morning Line. Our guest with us is Kendall Poole. He is director of the Tennessee Governor's Highway Safety Office, talking about what's happening out there on the roads, the money being spent. Every year, the budget spent on roads and advertising and everything through your office is about how much? Well,
my budget in the Governor's Highway Safety Office is roughly right around $20 million every year.
Okay.
So that's for advertising, and that is about 15% of our budget, but the other 85% of that is in the form of the grant awards that we talked about. So
okay.
that 400 plus grants, almost 450 grants that we have across the state is what we hang our hat on. It's that enforcement backing up the educational message.
So the grant money goes to help pay for some of these law enforcement officers to not hire more officers, is it? Or
no,
does it pay their salary? It's more for special things, like if you have officers working roadblocks or special occasions, or are they buying any special equipment with that?
Sometimes they do utilize it for equipment. In their application with us, they will designate what they would like to use it for.
Like you said, you kind of have to know what they're going to spend it on.
Absolutely, and we'll monitor that, make sure that they're doing that wisely and effectively. But we use the Thanksgiving holiday, for example. So many of our grantees, our partners across the state, utilized overtime money over the Thanksgiving holidays.
Okay. That's what I figured.
So Highway Patrol, Colonel Tracy Trott, I don't know if you've had Colonel Trott on here before, wonderful partner, and we work very closely with them. So we provide them grant funding as well for overtime.
Yeah. Okay. Now the money that you spend on advertising, you target certain things. Right now, what would you say, Kendall, is the greatest single danger on our roads today?
Okay, that's a tough one.
Has it changed? But what would you say is the greatest single danger?
The greatest single danger would be the demographic of males ages 18 to 34.
Okay.
And we're still going to target, whether it's booze it and lose it, click it or ticket, everything is going to be geared toward them seeing the message, whether it's a hardcore enforcement spot, whether it's a funny, soft spot, anything that's going to grab the attention of males ages 18 to 34. They're still the primary target or offenders in this case. It doesn't mean they're all bad, but they're just more likely to offend. That's statistically relevant all across the United States.
18 to 34. So that's the greatest, those drivers. And then the way they're offending can be everything from drinking and driving, not wearing their seat belts, less likely to do that. Maybe just in general being testosterone fueled and
speeding, aggressive driving,
speeding because it's a macho thing to do or whatever.
Right. And you know, we'll talk about this when we get into seat belts in a minute. But, you know, our biggest problem across the state is young males in pickup trucks.
Okay. And that's what everyone, I mean, even my son, who's getting close to the point where he's going to drive, I'm like, I was kidding with him. I go, Huey, you can have my motorcycle, you can have my convertible Miata. What car would you like for high school? And what would kind of means of transportation? He goes, I want the pickup truck.
Well, it's the pickup truck.
I'm like, and I understand, pickup trucks, I have nothing against pickup trucks, I guess, but especially here in the South, and I moved here 15 years ago, 20 years ago from L.A., it was a different mindset. But here, you know, the young men love trucks. And again, no knock on it, but it wouldn't have been my first choice. But trucks, now I will say this, trucks are safe, they're bigger, they're sure as heck safer than my Miata,
right.
You know, and, you know, depending on the truck you get, some can be more fuel efficient than others.
Well, they're more likely to roll over in a crash. And we have a lot of single car crashes with pickup trucks. Now, you think, we're not talking about I-40 or 24, 65 cutting through Nashville. We're talking about state highways and rural roads. And generally what we find through our law enforcement reports is that they're driving roads they've been driving their entire life. They're comfortable, they're familiar, and you know, you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, and you don't think anything's going to happen.
With a friend in the seat next to you?
Well, I mean, maybe you're texting. Maybe the road's wet, but if you're unbelted, the chances of you getting ejected in that pickup truck in the event of a crash is almost 90%.
Yeah.
You know, so, and if you're ejected, it usually means that you don't live through that. So the bottom line, we talk about statistics and we talk about saving lives and we're on pace for a record year and all that stuff. The bottom line in all of this is our job is to reduce crashes and save lives. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And if those numbers come down, that means those are lives saved. So that's exactly the way that we portray it. You know, nothing's a number. Commissioner John Schroer has done a terrific job with the dynamic message signaging boards across the state.
Yeah, I was going to say, the ones that you're driving about that sometimes will tell you if there's traffic congestion ahead. A lot of times they have up there, you know, the fatalities, or you'll have up there a signal about booze it or lose it. Just reminders.
They are reminders, and it's gone over exceptionally well. And it's amazing when those signs go up, and there's well over 150 of those across the state in urban areas. It's amazing, the feedback and getting people talking and making safety a conscious decision, a message when they see that, whether it's hard or soft. But the fatality numbers is a sobering reminder to everyone, and when we put those up, we see crashes and fatalities go down.
Yeah. Let's go to Joe on line 1. Joe, it's good to hear from you, my friend. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Nick. And just got a question for you again.
Sure.
I know the Highway Patrol for years have used an antiquated analog radio system. They could not communicate with the Metro and some of the other police departments because they was on digital systems. I know that they're phasing them in, but I'd like to ask you, yes, how far that has come along. I mean, who's got them and who hadn't. I know they started in East Tennessee, and I'd like to know, you know, where they at right now with that program.
Well, Nick, Joe's right on the money.
Yeah.
Colonel Trott has engineered a phase-in program of a state-of-the-art radio system. Joe's exactly right. That antiquated radio system that the Highway Patrol was using just wasn't getting it done, and it wasn't promoting safety the way that it should be, is the best way to say that. So it's extremely expensive to do that, but I think the citizens of the state of Tennessee are going to be well served by that new radio communication system that is being phased in right now.
Do you know when it'll be complete?
I don't. Colonel Trott can answer that question, but my understanding is it's a process that takes several months, a couple of years to make sure they get that done, but underway.
Okay. You know, Highway Patrol, I'm trying to think, you know, local law enforcement, do they use radar still to catch speeders, or do they use the laser, or do you know, is it a combination?
It's a combination of what we call radar and LiDAR equipment. Radar and laser, right? And it is. And when we say catch speeders, you know, from our standpoint, we're keeping the road safe.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate that every partner that I've worked with, and I know we might have some viewers that would disagree with that, but they're talking about saving lives and keeping everybody safe. It's not to pad the county coffers or the city coffers or anything like that. We don't hand out grant money and say, you've got to have X amount of citations.
Right, yeah, quotas.
There's no quota. No, we absolutely don't do that. And it's been amazing as I've traveled the state the last 10 years that our partners really get it. They understand it's about saving lives. It's about keeping people safe. So, and I think that plays out into our numbers. I mean, think about this. We're getting ready to set another all-time record, or at least a modern-day record, in terms of low numbers of fatalities. The rest of the nation, Nick, is up 15% this year in fatalities. Tennessee's down 7%. So I know that we're doing something right.
Exactly. As far as the radars, and I don't know. I think. I wonder, the sheriff talked about this yesterday about radar detectors. And he's like, why are those things even legal? Now, I know some states it's against the law to use them. I think in Tennessee you can use them. I haven't seen anyone with a radar detector in quite some time. You know, I used to be in the, do you even know if they're legal here in Tennessee?
I don't even follow that, to be honest with you. You know, it seems like we used to see them a lot when I was growing up in the 70s and the 80s, and yeah, I'm sure that there's an app out there or something that
like
somebody
has
can do
that, but
that you could do that. But you know, the best practice is just to be safe.
Yep. The speed limit. You know what? The bottom line is 70 miles an hour is plenty fast for me. Every once in a while, I'm on the interstate, though, driving to Knoxville or something, and I feel like I'm the grandma driving along there. The safe grandma. I like grandmas that drive, and I'm going 70, but people are dusting me going 80, 85 miles an hour. It seems like that's the norm sometimes on our roads, which, you know, that just increases the risk. Fewer seconds to react before something gets in your way. Listen, we'll take a break on that note. Be back with more. Talk a little bit about the seat belts and some of the laws you need to be aware of. At least the fine is going to change. Still, Tennessee had one of the lowest penalties for seatbelt law violations in the entire country. It's going to go up a bit. We'll be back with more right after this.